taking a moment to acknowledge all of those things, and then we'll start to move. And as we move, then everything starts to shift little by little. So the first thing you're going to do is just feel the weight of your head on the floor. And then start to let your head ease a little bit to the right and a little bit to the left. So rolling your head very gently, very easily from side to side. So no feeling of pushing. That's it. Good. You can just notice the sort of changing contact of the back of your head on the floor. You can let the back of your shoulders rest down. You can obviously particularly notice how your neck feels. And then when you're ready, just maybe a couple more times, rolling the head to the right and to the left. Find a comfortable place to settle the back of the head on the ground. And let a breath come in, let a breath leave you. That's very nice. And then if your legs are long, bend your knees and stand your feet on the floor. And again, just take a moment to feel the contact of your feet on the floor before you start to move. And then you are going to start to let your knees tilt to the right and to the left. That's it. And just keep this movement easy and comfortable. So it really depends how it feels. If you start to move and you're feeling a bit, you're feeling a bit creaky, then just don't go too far. If your body is feeling reasonably comfortable today, and that might be the case because of the heat, then the movement can be a little bit larger. So a few more times, letting the knees tilt to the right and to the left. Good. And then pause in the centre, and you're going to then cross your arms over your chest. That's it. So Rebecca, maybe a little bit more like this. So you've got, that's it, one elbow on arm. So you haven't got one arm clearly on top now. So bring, that's it. But slide your elbows a bit higher up onto your chest that's it, brilliant, good. Okay, and keep your knees bent, Jan, that's it. So what you're going to do now is let the head and the knees and the elbows all start to move a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left. That's it. So you're rocking across the whole of the back of your body, from side to side. Good. If you find that you're rolling onto your fingers, then trail your fingers out away from your body on the floor. So that's going to feel more comfortable than rolling onto them. And see if you can find a rhythm that's comfortable and enjoyable here. And perhaps each time we roll from side to side, it becomes a little bit easier. We're giving ourselves a little bit of a massage here. Sort of perhaps easing into tightness across the upper back particularly. Also across the back of the pelvis. Okay, so perhaps once or twice more to each side, and then settle in the centre. And when you settle in the centre, you can uncross your arms and maybe bring your hands to rest on the front of your body, because I'd like you to gather your attention into your breathing now. And feel the movement of your breath in your body. So the hands can be on your belly or your ribs, wherever's comfortable. Just feeling the body responding to the breathing. So perhaps the belly or the front of your body softens back a little bit as you breathe out, and as the breath comes in, maybe the belly, the front of your body rises up a little bit. Then for a couple more breaths, as much as possible, really let yourself be absorbed in your breathing. And again, I think in this hot weather we can You might find it harder to focus, but we can be perhaps quite happy doing something quiet breathing. Okay. From here, we're going to carry on our focus on our breath, but we're going to come to move with our breath, which we did last week in Apanasana, and we're going to repeat it again. So if now you fold your knees into your chest, and first of all, when you folded your knees into your chest, you could do whatever you like, which might be a little bit of rocking from side to side, or a little bit of circling around the back of your pelvis. That's it, whatever, that's nice, Jan. Yeah, Jan was sort of taking her head and her knees in opposite directions, a sort of little boat movement. That's very nice. Good. Okay, and then settle in the centre and bring your hands onto your knees. So you want to have your hands on your knees with your fingers pointing away from you. And as you breathe in, you let your knees move away from you. And as you exhale, you fold your knees in towards your chest. That's it. So breathing in, knees away from you. Exhaling, folding your knees in towards your chest. And you're going to do that 4 more times. So coordinating this simple movement with your breathing. Breathing in, the knees move away. Breathing out, the knees fold in towards you. And just allow your breathing and the movement to slow down. Breathe through your nose unless you're feeling very blocked up with hay fever. That's it. Good. Breathing in and out. Now it's very easy to lose track of counting in this. I can manage 3 on a good day. So maybe do 1 more and we'll call that 6 in total. So breathing in, knees away from you, exhaling, knees in towards you. And when you arrive with your knees in towards you, then again, if you want to take your arms around your knees for a moment, you can do. Just have a couple of sort of normal, quiet breaths. And then we'll take our legs up towards the ceiling and give them a bit of a shake out. You could add your arms in. It's interesting, isn't it? So it's quite nice to take the legs up on a warm day. You might want to be less, I don't know, shaking them around perhaps than usual. You might just want to see if there's a cool breeze up there. And then come, when you bring your legs down, just come down and lie long on your mat. So lengthen your legs out. And see how for a breath or 2 it feels to lie with your legs long. So even if you normally wouldn't and are not super comfortable with your legs long, just see how it feels. You could imagine you're standing here. You could stretch your heels away from you. That's it. And then let the legs relax. And sometimes that helps the lower back feel slightly happier. But we're not going to stay here long. What I'd like you to do from here is roll over onto your belly. And we'll do a couple of simple things on our belly. So roll over. It's quite nice to keep your head where it is, if that feels okay. Sometimes I always do this thing, I don't like to have my head near the door. Bashing me on the head. That's it. So settle down. So maybe one hand on top of the other and your cheek or your forehead resting on the hands. And give your pelvis a bit of a wiggle. Yeah, that's good. Just wiggle the pelvis, let it rest for a moment. And then just a couple of quiet breaths here. How does it feel to be breathing on your belly? Can we maybe feel the movement of the breath in the back of the body? Good. That's very nice. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave. And then from here, bending the knees, bringing the soles of your feet towards the ceiling, and then starting to tilt your feet to the right and to the left. Oh, that's it. It's just very funny, Kaylee, your feet just suddenly popped up into view. So that's it, very nice. So let the feet tilt to the right and to the left. And this movement should feel reasonably relaxed around this and the lower back. If it doesn't, if your lower back isn't happy, just bring your feet a bit lower, nearer to the floor, or stop altogether. So a couple more times, let the legs tilt to the right and to the left. And then bring those lower legs down onto the ground. Let them rest. Let a breath come in, let a breath leave. And once again, just see how it feels to have a couple more cycles of breath lying on your belly. And from here, we're going to come into child pose. So if you're really not particularly happy on your belly, you can make your way in child pose sooner. And if you're quite happy on your belly and maybe thinking, oh, child pose isn't so much my favourite, you can have another couple of breaths on your belly. So obviously as we come into child pose, we're bending the knees, and in coming into this position, our lower back gets more of a chance to lengthen out. So maybe have 2 or 3 cycles of breath in child pose, and then we're going to start to move into some sequences from hands and knees. But let's just have another quiet cycle or 2 of breath in child. Letting the breath come in, letting the breath leave. Good. And then come up onto hands and knees. And you might want to turn around on your mats at this point, possibly. And you're going to come on to doing some cat. So that's it. So settle yourself on hands and knees and come to doing some cat movements and see how they feel in your body right now. So cat's really helpful. It's helpful for releasing tension. And it's also helpful for making us just more aware of how we're feeling. So when you round your back to the ceiling, how does it feel? How does it feel for the lower back to lengthen out? Can you let your head hang? And when you dip your spine down to the floor, how does it feel to do that movement, to let the belly soften, to let the lower back move forwards? Do that a few more times. And then we tend to do this a lot because I do it a lot in my practice. So from cat, you're then going to move on to a bit of tail wagging. So cat sort of gives us this information about how we're feeling, and then we can start to wag our tail to perhaps release a little bit more around the pelvis. And again, if your lower back was feeling tight, look back towards your feet as you wag your tail. And just see if this side-to-side movement can start to release things a little bit around the lower back, around the pelvis. And you might then come back into a bit more cat, just to sort of check in. So has that tail wagging freed anything up? How does it feel now when I come back to rounding my back, to dipping my spine? And in a moment, you're going to, from a rounded up cat, you're going to come back into child pose and give yourself a couple of quiet breaths in child pose. So rounding that back, staying rounded, rocking your hips back over your heels, letting the forehead touch the ground, letting the elbows touch the ground. Noticing how your shoulders feel. Letting a breath come in, letting a breath leave you. And then from here, we're going to make our way into dog pose, into a forward bend, up into standing just very briefly, and then sort of back down again. And I just suggest, if you are very hot where you are, you just go slowly and, don't have to be in any sort of rush. So when you're ready, coming onto hands and knees, settling your hands on the floor, letting a breath come in as you exhale, taking your hips back into dog, and then just arriving in your dog pose. How does it feel? Maybe we want to work a bit on the backs of the legs to start with, bending one knee, bending the other knee, easing into the backs of the knees and the calves and the back of the heels. So we're bending one knee and the other leg, we're thinking about sort of sending that heel down towards the floor, letting the back of the leg open. You can see how is it to bend both knees a little bit and just have a couple of breaths there. And then what we'll do is start to walk the hands in towards the feet so that we end up in a forward bend. And when you end up in this forward bend, you've always got options. You could be bending your knees, resting your elbows on your thighs, or you could be letting your arms hang. Whatever you're doing, let your head hang. And just have a breath or two there. Let yourself settle in your forward bend. How do you feel? And then as you exhale, looks very nice as you exhale, we're going to roll up into standing. And if your lower back's feeling a little bit vulnerable, walk your hands up. Good. Okay, we're not going to do very much here in standing. Just when you first of all have a look at your feet, and sometimes when we come up through dog pose, we end up with our feet a bit wider apart than we need. And just come to a bit of swinging your arms in front of you. That's it. Good. Very nice. So swing the arms out to the sides. That's it. Nice and loose and free. Okay, Rebecca, you're not hitting anything. Good. And then from here, I'd like you to swing your arms all the way up. Good. Let your shoulders drop down away from your ears. Let the breath come in. Let the breath leave you. And then from here, you're going to come down. Gather your elbows in. Bend your knees. Come back into your forward bend. Have a couple of breaths there. And then from your forward bend, you're going to be walking on to dog pose with those hands. So walking forwards, one hand and then the other. That's it, into dog pose until you feel that you've got to a helpful length for dog pose. And have a couple more breaths in dog. So little by little as we move in and out of dog, hopefully we just start to undo. Okay, so when we come down from dog, we're going to come into this one where from hands and knees, we step 1 foot forwards. And you should all be, yes, you've got your blanket there, Rebecca, which might be quite good. And so make sure when you've done this that you've got that sort of sideways distance so that you don't feel terribly wobbly, that you're like you're on some sort of tightrope here. This is not the easiest place to feel stable in. So the back knee is under the pelvis. I'm going to have to get a blanket for my back knee. Jan, are you okay there?
I'm okay, thanks.
My knee's feeling rather grumbly. The front knee is the heel. Good. And then what we're going to do is a little bit of just sort of swinging our arms. Try not to blow the waist. So I feel quite steady from the waist down and let the arms swing. So light, that's it, sort of steady below the waist, light in the arms. And then you can stay in this one, turned towards the front leg. And just give yourself a couple of breaths in. Yeah, it's a bit shaking out the back arm. Good. Maybe bring the back hand onto the back of your pelvis. Keep sending your back shoulder back. Good. Very nice. And then from here, you're going to untwist. And we're going to fold over the front leg. And then we're going to tuck our toes under and walk our back leg away into lunge. And see how that feels on this side. You can have your back toes tucked under or flat. Now, what you can do is you could do a bit of ease. If you untuck your back toes, you could do a bit of easing back and coming forward. So I think last week we were thinking a lot about the sort of movement and stillness, and I'm still thinking about that. So we wanted a sense of what's helpful for us right now. So it might be that you want to stay in lunge, or it might be that you want to ease in and out of it. So just for the next few breaths, just decide what's best for you. Is it a bit of movement, or is it sort of staying in lunge and settling? Wherever you are, just letting the breath move through you. Good. Very nice. Now, we'll ease back. So if you're in lunge, ease back, untuck your toes, ease back out of lunge, and then we'll swap sides. Good. Bring that other foot. So that's it. So coming to the other side, just seeing, you know, to start with, are you sort of steady and stable here? Does that back knee need any padding? Yes, exactly, Kayla. Then you can start to swing your arms when you do feel steady and stable here. Good. Okay, we can then stay, turn towards the front leg, letting the back shoulder drop. We've been giving that arm a shake out, giving it away. Keep turning the shoulder back. That's it. Can easily get wobbly here. Hand onto the back of the pelvis. Good. Have a breath or two here. And then from here, we'll untwist. And like we did on the other side, we'll fold over the front leg and then tuck the toes under in the back leg so we can walk that leg away a little bit more and see how it feels to be in the lunge on this second side. So lunge is something that might feel a bit easier in the heat, possibly, giving the weight of our pelvis down. But if it's a little bit challenging, why don't you do some easing in and out? So untuck your back toe, keep your chest close to your front thigh, rock back, look back behind you, and then easing forwards. That's it, good. Easing back. And you can carry on with that movement, or if you come back into lunge like I'm doing and thinking, okay, maybe it's not feeling so bad, I can have a few breaths in lunge. Now, from this lunge, we're going to be coming into dog pose. So you could go straight from lunge, or you could go from hands and toes. So if you want to sort of ease back out of lunge, that's a possibility. Ease back out of lunge, look back behind you, slide your leg back in, come onto hands and knees. And we'll see how it feels to come into, I think it's our third dog pose now. So perhaps in this dog pose, we could focus a bit more on our feet. So first of all, start coming up onto the ball of one foot and then the other, which we might well have been doing in our previous dogs because this releases the back of the leg. But what I'd like you to do now is then as you come onto the ball of your foot, start to roll onto the top of your toes, 1 foot at a time. So you come right up onto the ball of your foot and then you roll through the tips of your toes onto the top side of your toes. And just keep going from side to side a few times. And not only is this sort of working into our feet, it's also releasing the ankles. And then from here, let's make our way into a forward bend. So make sure you're not on the top of either foot, and then you can start to walk your hands in towards you, coming into your forward bend. Now, in this forward bend, we're going to come up into standing in a moment. I'd like you to touch, as long as you don't need to walk your hands up the fronts of your legs, I'd like you to touch the backs of your hands together. And as you roll up into standing, you're going to trail your hands up the front of your body, all the way up to the ceiling. Be long and tall, let a breath come in, and then exhale. Bring your arms out in a big circle into prayer pose in front of you. Good. And then just have a little look down at your feet. Again, we're not going to do much in standing. We're going to do a little sort of simple balance. So keeping your hands in prayer pose, come to a little bit of swaying from side to side. So let all of the weight of your body, well, not all of it, but most of it, rock over one leg and foot. So I'm not taking my foot off the floor at the moment. I'm just transferring my weight from one foot to the other. And then eventually, from doing this, you're going to choose a foot to stand on first, and you're going to bring your other foot to stand on that foot. But just that's it. Just a nice, simple little balance. And so obviously when we come into balancing, we have this intention of to be still, but the reality, there might be a bit more movement than we were bargaining for if we're a bit wobbly. If you feel reasonably stable here, you could then take your arms up and just see how that feels. Let the shoulders stay relaxed. relaxed. Good. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave you. Stay nice and relaxed in your jaw, your lips, good, and your tongue. You can bring the hands back into prayer pose. That's nice. The shoulders relax. Good. Very nice. Well done. Come down, have a little shake out. So I always think balances are quite good in hot weather because they really make us stop. Rebecca, if you do change your mind about water, just let me know. So, okay, so start again. Maybe start by looking at your feet, organise your feet a little distance apart, sort of feel your feet, bring your hands into prayer pose again. So I'm resting my thumbs on my breastbone because that to me just makes me feel a bit steadier. We're going to bring our weight onto the other leg and foot now and see how it feels to take the foot that we just stood on off the floor. And see how it feels to settle here. Let breath come in, let the breath leave. And if you feel steady, you could explore taking your arms up towards the ceiling. Keeping the shoulders nice and relaxed, that's it. Breath come in, let the breath leave. Very good. And then let the hands come down, into prayer pose in front of you. Very nice. Let's have a little shake out. We're going to come down onto the floor one more time and then back into standing. Actually, the next time we come into standing, Rebecca, we'll be there a bit longer, so you probably won't get rid of that blanket. So, yeah, we'll be a little bit longer in standing next time. So come to the backs of your mats and bring your hands into prayer pose. And again, just so have a look at your feet, settle your feet. Just settle into your standing. Let a breath come in. As you exhale, you're going to take your arms down and then up. Drop your shoulders away from your ears and then start to gather your elbows in. Roll down into your forward bend. And from your forward bend, when you're ready, walking your hands forwards into dog pose. Now, I'm just going to suggest this as a possibility. So this is, I think, dog pose number 4. If you're feeling that you wanted to do any of your one-legged dog poses, you don't have to do these now. We have got a few more dog poses, but if you felt that that would be something you'd like to explore now, we've done a standing balance. So we've got a sense of what it's like to take one leg off the ground. It's a bit easier here because you've got the hands there as well. So you have to, Rebecca, sort of, that's quite good if foot touches something like the radiator. A little step side. Out of that dog pose. Maybe just let yourself have a couple of shots. And then we're going to come back to our cat and our tail wagging and using these to move towards face up. Your wrists and your hands. Then you can come. Sorry, very nice. Then come up onto hands. Now, light or creaky in cats, and sometimes it's quite reassuring to touch a bit more. Everything feels a little bit easier. Now, tuck your toes under. You're going to round your back in cat, leg rock over your heels. Keep looking back so your back stays rounded, and then walk your hands forwards a little bit on the floor so your hands move further away from the knees. Let a breath come in, and as you exhale, you're going to start to travel forwards, but keeping your back rounded. So you're looking back towards your pelvis and watching it come forwards. Then when your shoulders come over your hands, you can start to look forwards, let your pelvis go, untuck your toes. And then let's reverse that. Let's try and do this 3 times. So go all the way back, tucking your toes under, all the way back. Let a breath come in. Use the out breath to take you forwards, rounding your back, letting the pelvis travel forwards. Good. Ending up, lovely, in your face up dog, looking forwards, pelvis hanging. One more time. Come back, so sort of reversing that movement, tucking the toes under, looking back behind you. Let a breath come in. Use the exhalation to take you forward, all the way into your face up dog. And it might be in this third one that you want to have an extra breath or 2 in face up dog, but then you're going to come back into child pose for a few breaths before we, to keep your feet flat as you go back this time. So before we come into some bit more face up dog using our tail wagging movement, just come quietly into child pose, and especially if you're feeling a little bit hot, just give yourself a bit of time to settle down and feel the flow of your breath through your body. Okay, so staying in child pose, slide your hands a bit further away so that your elbows come off the floor, but your forehead is still down. And then come up onto hands and knees, keeping your hands in that position. So they're going to be a bit further forwards than they were. And then we're going to start to wag our tail, move our pelvis from side to side. We can go back into child, and we can use this side to side movement to take us into face up dog. And again, I'd quite like you to do this 3 times. So if you start to feel very tired and just want to end up in child, that's absolutely fine. Side to side movement of the pelvis. It's that quite nice way of sneaking into face up dog. And again, when you come into your third face up dog, if you're doing one, and just perhaps a couple of extra breaths before you fold back into child pose once more. And just let yourself settle again in child. And if you're finding being in child pose is making you too hot, then of course you could sit in kneeling instead. And just let the shoulders drop and soften. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave. So maybe another cycle or 2 of breath in child pose, and then we're going to make our way through dog pose, forward bend, up into standing. And we're going to do, what was I going to say? We're going to do a few more things than standing, but more balancing. Nothing too dramatic in this hot evening. So whenever you're ready, hands and knees, tucking your toes under, moving into dog pose, having a few breaths in dog. And it might be, see how you feel when you arrive in dog. And I was just thinking, actually, I just want to sort of be in quite a quiet dog pose now, and not too much movement, letting the head hang. Maybe it's a place where we can sort of be and breathe a little bit more now. We don't have to, if we still feel we want to be moving, that's absolutely fine. From dog pose, you're going to walk your hands in towards your feet, end up in your forward bend. Perhaps a breath or 2 in your forward bend. Just let yourself arrive, feel the heels anchoring into the ground, let the head go, let the spine tumble down. And then we'll touch the backs of the hands together, let a breath come in as you exhale, rolling up into standing. Trail your hands up the front of your body, straight up to the ceiling. Breathe in and then exhale. Good. This time just give your arms and legs a shake out. So take one of your tissues. Tissues, yeah, they're up on that cupboard there, Jan. Seems to be a bit hay fever in? No, I don't know. They're bunged up when I'm leaning down. Oh, and dog pose, yes. Yeah. Sometimes it's like that. Yeah, so if you're at the back of your mat, why don't you come towards the middle of your mat now? So, because we're going to be in standing a little bit more, and then don't worry, because after that you'll get some more lying down, so it's not going to be too lively. So again, start just by looking at your feet, and then stop looking at your feet, feel your feet on the floor, and then take your right arm up. And I'd like you to start to reach into your right arm and shift your weight onto your right leg and foot, and let your left heel come up. So the left foot's becoming really light. Good. And then just come down from that. And then come back into it again. So reach when you've let the left arm release a bit. Sorry, let the right arm release a bit. Take the right arm up. So same arm up again. Weight coming onto the right leg and foot, left heel. Now this time you're going to go further and catch the top left foot. Let the knee drop down towards the ground. And then bring your hand onto your breastbone. So again, we're doing a fairly sort of quiet balance here, if possible. Letting ourselves settle. So the bent knees dropping down towards the ground. It maybe needs to move a little bit further back than we think, if that's possible. Sometimes it's helpful to bring the hand onto the belly, just to feel that the belly can stay sort of falling back and softening. Good. That's very nice. Good. Another cycle of breath. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave. Down, shake out. Good. And then again, start the whole process by looking down at your feet, seeing your feet on the floor, and then stopping looking at your feet and feeling your feet on the floor. Maybe close your eyes for a moment and standing here. And you could reach your arm up with your eyes closed. You could take your weight onto your left foot with your eyes closed, and even let the right heel come up a little bit. All of those things, and then release that left arm and open your eyes. So we'll do the rest of it with the eyes open, I think. That's it. So take your left arm up, start to shift your weight onto your left foot, come up onto the ball of your right foot, let the whole foot come up, catch the top of that foot. Good. Bring your hand down onto your breastbone. And the same thing here, we're just trying to sort of settle here. Let the knee move back, let the knee drop. This is the bent knee. So we're trying to get that knee to be more level with the other knee. Good. Can we feel wide across the front of the chest? Can we feel the chest stays level? Good. Right, let's bring the hands onto the belly. That's very nice. Good. Another breath or two. Well done. Come down, have a little shake out. And then we're going to come, well, you don't need to come much further back on your mat, but you just need space to be able to step 1 foot forwards on your mat. So start with your feet a little distance apart, and then we're going to step 1 foot forwards and do this rocking forwards and back that we do a lot, but it's very sort of calming. So weight into the front foot, weight into the back foot. Good. So weight onto the front heel, weight onto the ball of the back foot. And eventually we'll settle down. We'll let both feet become planted on the floor. That's it, Jan. It's quite nice to then take your hands onto your pelvis. Maybe look at your feet for a moment and just check what they're doing. You want both feet to point forwards. Quite often the back heel turns in. So if we can just bring that back foot so it's parallel. It might feel more wobbly doing that, but that's part of the point. This is a little bit of a balance. We're trying to, again, not move below the waist. Swing our arms, but not move our pelvis. Shoulders can move. Good. head can move. Lovely. Okay, and then we'll pause in the centre. We're just going to take this into a forward bend. So you're going to bend your front knee. You're going to keep your back leg straight. Come forward so you're resting your hands or your elbows on your thigh. And then you can go further. So you bring your chest towards your thigh and you let your head go. And just see how it feels to have a couple of breaths there. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave. Let your head hang. And then sink into your heels, come back up into standing. And give your legs a little shake out and come to stand back again with your feet side by side. Good. And we're going to step the other foot forwards now. And we're going to do that rocking forwards and back, where we're inviting ourselves to settle down through our feet and to feel our feet on the floor. So heel of the front foot, ball of the back foot. A couple more times. Rolling. Both your feet at this point. So again, just check both feet are pointing forwards, even if that makes us feel slightly less stable. That's the idea. Pelvis, swinging the arms, leading the pelvis way. With the feet pointing like that, you have to be steady. Good. And so we'll put the middle, we'll keep the back leg straight, we'll bend the front knee, we'll see how that feels to fold forwards. And then if you like, you can release your arms down to the ground, you can let your head go. I think it's always, I was just thinking on the other side, it's always interesting to see the view from down here. So what do we see? A different perspective. It might be that you see things in your house, so you think, oh my goodness, that somebody needs cleaning. So, and then as you exhale, sink down into your heels, come back up into standing. And have a little shake out in your bucket. You can see that this is something down by my mat that needs to go in the bin. So we're going to do, thank you, Jack. We're going to do one more thing in standing. We're going to come back to the balance we were doing and take it a little bit further. So again, from feet being side to side, come back to stepping your first foot forwards. And you can come back to a little bit of rocking forward back. So in a moment, we're going to take our weight onto our front foot. So this is a little bit of preparation. You can sort of see how steady does that front foot feel. And if you put your hand onto your breastbone, and just coming back to that balance we were in not long ago. Sort of here, away from your bottom, take your hand forwards. So you're reaching forwards and back. You could tilt a little bit forwards. Really try to sort of pull your foot back away from your bottom. You could let your pelvis turn to the side of it. And you could try to breathe. A bit sooner than you were hoping, you can always sort of come back to that starting off point and just see where you could get to. But we're not necessarily going to be our most still and quiet. So step foot number 2 forwards, if you can remember which one it is. Good. Weight forwards and back, a little bit of rocking forwards and back, yes. That's it. Front foot, hand on your breastbone. This is our sort of reminder of steadiness and just, can we settle all of the weight in the front foot, catch the back foot. Just let yourself, this is our sort of starting off point, as it were. So just let yourself be steady here and then start to reach forwards and back. Heel reaches away from your bottom. The foot pulls back into your hand. You're reaching forwards with the other hand. Maybe your pelvis turns the side. Keeping you tip forwards. Very nice, lovely, beautiful. Well done. Excellent. Yeah, yes, if you feel that you didn't quite do as much as you wanted and you wanted just to, you know, even if you just move through it, sometimes it's good to not think I'm going to stay there, I'm just going to move through. Where do I get to? But yes, wonderful, well done, really nice. Yes, that's nice, Sam. Let's all join you in that. This one, swinging our arms, easy swinging twist. And then we will be making our way out of standing. Not long to lying down now, but we're going to do some. I thought we would do some sort of breathing and movement together in lying down today, in a hope that we'll stay awake for it. I had these moments of drowsiness today. Okay, so let's come to the back of our mats, and I think we did this last week, and we're going to go through standing, forward bend, dog and child, and it's really up to you about whether you want to be still or whether you want to move. So you're going to settle into standing, and I'll just turn the other way. Settle into standing at the back of your mat. So you could just let yourself settle and be quiet. You could wiggle your pelvis, so that would be some movement, which is quite nice. You could do that, and then you could be quiet. There's lots we could do. You could a couple of times lift and drop your shoulders if they're not so quiet. And then let's just have a quiet cycle of breath. So close the eyes. Feel the breath come in. Feel the breath leave you. Let another breath come in, and then let the next exhalation take you down into a forward bend. And so again, this forward bend, we haven't done this today, so you could do the sort of weeping willow one where you're sweeping your arms from side to side around your feet, and that might be quite nice. Of course, you don't have to. You could again just be sort of still and quiet in the centre, letting your head go, rooting down into your heels. This is our last forward bend of the evening, I think. So, yeah, how does it feel? And then from here, whenever you're ready, you can stay a bit longer in your forward bend if you like, but whenever you're ready, start to walk your hands forwards into dog pose. So last forward bend, last dog pose. What do you want to do with this dog? How is it to sort of be there and keep movement fairly minimal and try to feel the movement of the breath? And if like Jan, I often come into dog pose and feel a bit blocked up. So it's fine to breathe through your mouth, be a mouth breather in dog pose. You might want to try bending the knees quite a lot so that you can really send your pelvis back. You can have another few breaths in dog, but whenever you're ready, fold down into child pose. If you come through hands and knees, round your back, and then rock back into child. So you really get that sort of maximum length through the lower back. And in child pose, we can always have a bit of movement if we like, a bit of wiggling the pelvis from side to side. It might be that you just want to settle and be quiet. Let the elbows rest down. Encourage the weight of your pelvis. So sometimes that sort of a little bit of side to side wiggling can help to encourage the pelvis to settle in child. Let the breath come in, let the breath leave. So from child pose, you're going to slither forwards onto your belly, and we're going to just revisit the things we did earlier on our belly. So Rebecca, if you want to put your blanket down, that might be quite nice. Because then from our bellies, we'll go onto our backs. it. So settle down onto your belly and maybe one hand on top of the other and your cheek or your forehead resting on your hands, if you like. And yes, the first thing is that wiggling of the pelvis from side to side. Being on our belly is not the most comfortable thing. A bit of movement is really helpful. See if you can let the pelvis settle and have a quiet cycle or two of breath. Good. And again, if we're not so happy on our belly, if we focus on the feeling of the breath in the back of the body, that can sometimes make it feel a little bit more comfortable. Let's try the second movement where we bent our knees and took the soles of our feet towards. This one's usually quite nice. And then let the feet tilt to the right and to the left. Good. Very nice. Lovely. And you can carry on with that a few times. We're going to have a couple more quiet breaths on our belly. So whenever you've tilted your feet enough, you can let your legs come down onto the ground. And just maybe for another cycle or two of breath. How does it feel to be on the belly? Okay, so from here, you're going to roll over onto your back. And if you want to arrange your head up a different end of your mat, you can certainly do that. Because we're going to stay on our backs now. So, and we're going to do some, well, so first of all, I'm just going to give you a little bit of time to do whatever it is you want to do when you arrive on your back. So, yeah. So what do you feel drawn to doing on your back? That can be anything or nothing. Nothing is always good. Good. And so one of the things, particularly if you don't like lying on your belly very much, when you come then onto your back, it feels really, really nice. So that's one of the many benefits of lying on our belly, is it makes us even happier on our backs. So just maybe another moment or so of doing your own thing. And then you're going to settle on your backs with your knees bent and your feet standing on the floor. And we're going to do a sequence here with bridge pose where we coordinate our movement with our breathing. And we move on our out breath and we receive the in breath into the different postures, I suppose. So your starting point is your hands on your belly. And let's just feel a cycle of breath move through us. So let an out breath leave. Feel your belly fall back maybe a bit. And feel an in breath come in. And then with your next exhalation, as you exhale, you're going to take your arms up to rest on the floor, either side of your head. So you take them, that's it. So take them wide, Rebecca. So you want the elbows, that's it. So just this first time, find that place where you can rest your arms down. Let a breath come in there. And then with your next exhalation, sink down into your feet and let your pelvis come off the floor into a little bridge pose. That's it. Let a breath come in there. And then as you exhale, bring your spine back onto the floor, vertebrae by vertebrae. You need your feet a bit closer into you, don't you, Rebecca? Yeah. As your pelvis touches the ground, breathe in. And then as you exhale, the last thing you do is bring your hands back to your belly. I'll talk you through that again. So just have your hands on your belly. Feel as you exhale, you take your arms up towards the ceiling and then all the way over so they're resting on the floor, somewhere sort of out to the sides, either side of your head. And then let a breath come in there, feel wide in your chest. Next out breath down into your feet. Let your pelvis, that's much better, Rebecca, well done. Let your pelvis come up into a comfortable bridge pose. When you're in bridge pose, receive your in-breath, feel wide in your ribs. Then as you exhale, start to lower your spine back onto the floor, vertebrae by vertebrae. As your pelvis rests down, receive the inhalation. As you exhale, your hands come back to your belly. Good. I'll talk you through again. So receive an in-breath with your hands on your belly. And then as you exhale, your arms come up to the ceiling and then down to rest on the floor, either side of your head. And there, let the arms be heavy, receive an in-breath. And then as you exhale, down into your footprints, pelvis comes up into bridge, lovely. Receive an in-breath in bridge pose, feel your ribs widen. And then as you exhale, lower your spine back onto the floor, vertebrae by vertebrae. Receive an inhalation as your pelvis rests down. Exhaling, hands onto your belly. So I'd like you to do this 3 more times on your own, and I will sort of remind you a little bit, but also it's good to see if you can find your way through it. So remember, the first thing is to feel a breath come in, and then your arms move with your out breath. So remember, we're always receiving the in-breath. We're not moving when we're breathing in. And then when we breathe out, we go on into the next part of the little sequence. Good. And then we receive an in-breath there. So, and then we move again with the exhalation. And then receive an in-breath. The hands on the belly, we receive an inhalation. That's the beginning of the sequence. And then we start to move with the out breath. So I think that might be one more cycle. So very nice. Just taking time, there's no rush. When you have done this 3 times, again, there's no rush. Just you can put your knees into your chest, just so I know that you've finished. You could hold around the top of your knees, do a little bit of rocking. Rebecca used to warm that up. Yeah, okay, good. Okay. Let's see. Yes, I think we have time. Otto, on your bed. On your bed. No, it's not time to come in. On your bed. I think we have time just to do a little floor twist, which would be nice before we finish. So, what I would suggest, the sort of way I'm quite keen on doing at the moment, is to take your legs up to the ceiling. So knees folded into your chest, and then take your legs up to the ceiling. And then let the knees bend a little bit towards your chest and wrap one arm around the back of your knees. And then you can let the feet, come down towards your bottom. And so bring the other arm out on the floor at shoulder height, the one that's not around the back of your knee. And then as you exhale, you're going to take your knees down towards the supporting arm side, so away from the arm that's resting on the floor. And I tend to keep my arm under my knees. You want to make sure your shoulder is staying down on the floor. But if it's comfortable and you want to take your arm out from under your knees, you can do. And just see how it feels to have a few breaths there. It might just be a couple of cycles of breath, or if you feel very comfortable and you've got time and you want to stay there, on breathe cycle. Enter. That'd be quite nice to take in between. And then up towards the ceiling, I wrap the other arm around the back of my thighs and take the other arm out on the floor at shoulder height. And then we're moving down into side to the twist. Mary. Add enough, come back to the center. In this hot weather, and we'll have this maybe half a dozen or so of breath lying down, either with your knees bent or your legs long. And anyone wants a blanket? I don't know. Rebecca, are you cooling down? No. Okay, no blankets then today. Might just be able to really enjoy, that sort of lovely point in the evening where we can enjoy that sort of coolness coming into the air.
It's a nice temperature now.
Beautiful, isn't it? So settle down, knees bent, legs long. You can rest your arms by your side, or you can rest on front of your body. As much as possible now, just let your body settle. Give the weight of the head, the shoulders to the ground. Let the back of the rib cage rest down, the back of the pelvis, the weight of the bones of the legs, all the way down to the heels. You can be aware of the flow of your breath. Somewhere within you, there's that constant flow of the inhalation followed by the exhalation. Always present, always with us. As we mentioned earlier, we can be aware of the really lovely, delicious, cool air on our skin. And the sounds of bird song this time of night. I'm going to add the sound of the singing bowl into the mix. So just let yourself lie and absorb the sounds. I'm going to ring it 3 times and then you can start to move when the third sound has gone. Thank you very much, everyone. So this is the last class until September. Apart from the ones I'm teaching on weekends. So but I think you're away. You're
away. You're
away.
unfortunately, I keep missing you.
Mm.
Thanks,
Never mind.
Well,
Sarah.
it's just it's that this time of year. A little. Thank you, Sam. Lovely to see you. See you.
Bye.
See you in a few weeks. Bye.
Yeah.
Thanks, Kara.
Thank you so much. See you in a few weeks. Lovely.
Yeah, I think I owe you for this class. So if you're okay, I'll do it as one payment when we're doing the next block. Is that all right?
Yeah, well, you're quite on the ball with that. Yeah, that's fine. Absolutely. You're quite on the ball with remembering these things. So,
Yeah.
yeah, that would be great.
Okay, excellent. All right.
All right.
Have a great
All
summer.
right. Take care.
Take care.
Well,
Bye.
Yeah, you're lovely. Take care. Bye. Bye. Oh, what's he doing?